My biggest thing, if I could go back in time, I would be an astronaut. That would be the one thing that I would want to do.
So you will love this probably. Maybe you'll get this reference. If we get a dog, his name will be Gaius Baltar. Oh, you don't know this reference?
I was going to say Dune, but I don't think that's what it is.
It's Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the shows that I never, got into.
Wow, are you even a real nerd, Patrick?
Yeah, I guess you don't like that much of space. I guess only a little bit of space.
You're listening to The Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Welcome back for another week of the Janchi Show.
Yeah. What up, Janchi people?
Whoa.
I am one of your hosts, Patrick Armstrong, here for another wonderful episode with my fellow co-hosts, the ever-present bishops to my king on the chessboard of the podcast
like this
hierarchy.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going.
Knight
Why do I have to be a bishop? Can't I be a knight?
Bishops,
Maybe
introduce
I'm a pawn.
yourselves.
I go here, and you and Hermione can go on and get the stone.
You can get the stone.
Real trash. Real trash.
Maybe I'd rather
British
be a
accent.
castle.
You want to be like, what's it, the rook? You want to
The
go
rook has
forward
more
and
value than the bishop.
sideways.
Yeah,
So-
take that, all you religious people. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Anyways,
What is
this
happening?
is
I
Janchi
didn't
Show.
never intro the show ever again.
Janchi, not a chess talk.
That's Chess Talk with the Janchi Boys. Yeah, this is the show. This is what people come here for every Wednesday. Is this kind of content? And they also come here the new people come to figure out what Janchi means. Nathan, what does that mean?
Janchi, which is a derived from our Dol Janchi of first celebration. We use it as to celebrate, but we are celebrating our Korean adoption heritage, our culture, our lives, our experiences, and we're going to have our own Dol Janchi coming up here in a month. So I think you all have seen that. So we are excited to do our first Dol Janchi
Yeah,
We're excited to celebrate in person.
in person.
Listeners of the show will know that we have never met in person before.
But it's
So yeah,
gonna
if you're
change.
interested in taking part, we're going to be recording a live show, and then we'll get dinner afterwards. So let us know if you're coming by going to janchishow.com/live to RSVP, and all the pertinent information will come out later, either on that website or via email. But let us know you're coming.
Or in the Janchi Show after party.
Or in the Janchi Show after party. Look, here's the deal. We are like 12% organized. So just whatever you're expecting, just lower your expectations by approximately 88%, and then you'll be on our level. So,
Side note, it is in Los Angeles, California.
yep.
I like the 12% because it makes me think of Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's like, I have 12% of a plan. So it's not
Really?
very much of a plan, but it's still a plan, yeah. When he
All
does
right.
the big, Star-Lord gives a big speech before they go back
Who
to
is
Xandar
Star-Lord?
and fight. Anyways, Peter Quill.
God.
Oh, Chris Pratt.
Anyways.
I know. I was making a Star-Lord joke. He's like, come
Oh,
on, guys.
who?
Star-Lord, mastermind of the
Interesting.
universe.
All right, well, that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we have a really
No, we're not.
great, incredible interview with KJ's friend, Beth Perkins.
Yeah.
KJ, what did we talk about in this interview?
Well, we talked about a whole lot of stuff. We talked about obviously what it is like to be adopted, as we talk about with all of our guests, but specifically growing up in the Midwest / southwestern Missouri region. Her story, wrestling through her Asian American adoptee identity, and the new point of view and the importance of community, and the role that finding a community of BIPOC to wrestle with those identities and what that means for her moving forward. So it was a really, really fantastic interview. It was a lot of fun to have someone on who I had recently been able to meet and then meet in person, like since doing the show. So it was a good time, and we're real excited to share this with you. So unless we have anything else, let's roll the tape. Great. I'm getting the nods.
Roll
Let's
it.
go. Welcome back to the Janchi Show. We have an incredibly special guest with us today. It is the one and only Beth Perkins, who literally almost spit take, because not only am I great at poor timing, I'm also great at surprising introductions. Beth, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming on to our show.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, so are we.
I am particularly excited.
And
Patrick
I didn't know
nodded
that we
for
were all
If
going
anyone,
to
then
say.
No.
Yes, in case anyone
I
was
also
not
am
watching that.
excited.
Yeah, Patrick nodded vigorously, so you could probably hear his headphones shake on his head.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. So I'm really excited, Beth. It's been really great to get to know you while we have lived in the same city. So that's been really fun. I actually have not had the privilege of hearing your adoption story. So would you kick us off with this interview with telling us in as much or as little detail as you would like to your adoption story?
Sure. It's pretty short and pretty simple. I was adopted. My parents, so let me kind of back up a little bit. My folks, my dad was the last draftee out of the state of Missouri for the Vietnam War. When he finished basic, he ended up being placed in Seoul, right on the line and at the military base there. And so they lived there for 2 years. Then when they came back to the States, they tried to have kids and couldn't have kids. So then that's when they moved to adoption. And then that's when I showed up. So the way my parents explain it, which is not my story, it's theirs, is there were 2 girls and 2 boys. They picked one of the girls, and I was the lucky girl picked. So I was born in January and then showed up in the States around May. So just 5 months later, and then and that's all I know. And then they raised me Midwest Missouri there, or Jefferson City, if anybody knows where that is. So it's the center of the state.
Nope, nobody knows.
Yeah, it's the state
No one in the
capital, but
whole
no one
country knows.
ever knows that little city. So anyways, that being said, grew up in Jeff City, and my folks ended up having their biological kid, or their biological son, 2 years after me. And so I have a younger brother, and he and I are very, very close. So, which is super awesome. I think we have a great relationship. So, but anyways, that's pretty much it. Grew up in middle of Missouri, like middle of nowhere, Missouri. Was surrounded by all white people. And like, I think in my application or whatever I put in, I talk about how, like, I kind of grew up in a generation where we didn't have a whole lot of technology when I was growing up. So it was all kind of like a guessing game. And I was raised, I feel, super normal. I have a great life. I have great parents. I had a great, great upbringing, but I didn't know anything else. So it felt normal to me, which was weird because it's not normal. But my parents kind of raised me with the idea of, you'll get over it and everything will be fine. They joke that when I first came over, one of their friends directly asked my dad, they were like, is she going to have like an accent when she grows up? And of course, my dad's like, she's 2 months, or she's like 5 months old. No, she will not, he asked, like, what language will she speak? And my dad looked at him and was like, English. Just like, come on, man. So I've never known anything else other than what I was kind of raised around and what I'm used to. But my mom is one of those moms. It's like, you're going to be this super powerful woman. So I never let anything intimidate me. But I had the same stories as I got made fun of kind of in elementary school, but was quick to be like, that shit's not going down. So I'm gonna be just fine. And then just, that's kind of, KJ knows I'm very extrovert. So that's kind of my personality too, is I'm not going to let that happen. We'll just keep going with whatever. So, but I never knew anything. I never really felt like a minority. I can remember some super racist things now as an adult, looking back on my younger self being like, wow, that was not okay. But at the same time, in the moment, you're like, I'm so naive and so ignorant, and I don't really know yet what is happening and what questions I should be asking. I'm just trying to make it right now. So
you said that you didn't really feel like a minority growing up, and also said that you grew up in a super white town. So I'm curious, in a lot of our stories, and I mean, it could just be that that it's not like this, but what was your proximity to people of color? And when was kind of the moment when things started shifting? Maybe the first moment that things started shifting for you, and you're like, oh yeah, I really feel that, like, I'm definitely not white in a meaningful way beyond more than just like, I'm from Korea?
So, like, I've always been aware that I'm from Korea. Growing up, I don't look like anybody else. So I'm fairly good with that. I guess to answer all of those questions, I didn't really feel like I wasn't a minority until I hit college. I think that that's when you go and you start to meet other people and realize that. The town that I was from had very little diversity. However, there was an African-American family up the street from us. So I did know their son was like a year older than I was. So he and I kind of were friends and we still kind of know each other, but not really. It's like through Facebook. So that doesn't count, right? So I was like, it's like one of those things where you're like
each other's stuff occasionally.
Yeah, we like each other's
still
stuff.
Alive.
Yeah, I'm still here, still have everything. But that was really it. There was, when I was adopted, there was a young boy, but he also was adopted from Korea as well. And he and I got naturalized together. And he lived in Jeff City. So I had play dates with him. Then they moved away. He and I had play dates up until we were about 13. And then we ended up going to the same middle school together. And people were like, oh, you guys should date because you're both Korean. And I was like, I don't like him like that at all. Like, that's not how this works for me. But of course, like, we gave into peer pressure and we're dating now. And I'm like, I hate this. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like, I'm holding this poor kid's hand. And I don't know. I felt so bad because, of course, then we have the first school dance and he kisses me. And I'm like, that's disgusting. This is not the way I had this planned at all. So you're having all these awful feelings. So being the horrible person that I was at that time in my life, I broke up with him in the Christmas card gift I gave him for Christmas.
Wow.
So it was pretty rough.
Wait,
bad.
the card was the gift, or you gave him a gift and
no,
the card?
I gave him a gift.
Dang.
I gave him a gift. I gave him a gift
there you
and
go.
then the card.
Yeah,
but in the
nice.
card, I broke up with him. So that's
So
not
it was a
super
parting
awesome.
gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, parting gift. There you go.
Thanks for the
I love
memory.
it. Yes. Yes.
Here's your consolation prize.
Consolation prize.
I've had a
I feel
friend
horrible.
I've had a friend break up with somebody with a Valentine's card before. So
Ooh. Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
At least it
it
wasn't-
happens. Sometimes
does.
you're already planning on giving, or you already
Savage.
bought it for them. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd already bought
it
it.
happens. Yeah, it happens. What are you gonna do? Keep it? Return
Yeah.
it? I don't
No,
know.
I don't want this.
I would
I
have
mean,
done
at
the same
least
thing.
he had somebody to be broken up with.
This
I
is
remember
true.
not receiving anything in my like when you're in like grade school, you just set up like the
Uh-huh.
Valentine's bag, and then everybody goes around. I remember not getting anything one year, and that really sucked.
Aw.
Yeah.
I'm like,
All I
aren't
can
the
think of
teachers
is-
supposed to pass stuff out?
It's like-
hit me
like-
up, teacher.
It's like Lisa Simpson.
Oh, yeah, with
choose
Ralph.
you.
I
Yeah.
might have been a Ralph, and like
You were the
been
Ralph of the class.
infatuously in love after that. Okay, this is
So
derailing the
sorry,
conversation. I'm
Patrick.
sorry.
I love it. Where are my cards?
Yeah.
That has
hilarious.
unlocked some memories for me that we can talk about on a solo episode.
We can do that with drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into it in the after party or whatever. Wow. Okay. Man. Okay. So so you said that college was the moment that you were like really feeling
Well,
that.
Yeah, I mean, like, because you're seeing and you're around people. I was actually a freshman in college when 9/11 happened. And that's when I felt like, I mean, it's just because of what is happening and what we were seeing. And I think just dealing with that aspect, and then trying to also find your way in college and, try to figure out who you are and what you're doing. And I think that's really when I kind of developed that. But then, like, before I met KJ, I had met this guy that he and I both know, Daniel. And Daniel had actually introduced me to kind of like thinking about myself not as white, which I've never thought of myself as white. But at the same time, I've just lived in that culture and done like the assimilation thing where I feel super confident I can make my way. I don't really see anything. But then when I started thinking about some of the things that he and I had talked about, like, do you consider some things that people say to you racist or microaggression kind of things? And then you start to recognize, man, wow, I am part of the problem, not part of the solution. This is a bad place to be in, and recognizing that. And I think that's the main reason that I wanted to come on your podcast, was the whole point of being like, hey, I'm almost 40 years old and I just now am figuring that out, and it sucks. But at the same time, like, I'm so glad I'm figuring it out. I'm a little slow on the uptake, which is normal. I'm always the slowest one behind. So I'm good with that. But I want people to know that it's okay whenever you figure that out, that, hey, I want to do more and, be part of more, that you have that opportunity, that you can make that choice anytime. Don't feel the weight of anything like a job or my family or wherever I am in my life. I think that was one of the things that I told my husband was like, I don't think they'd ever have me on the podcast. I'm not somebody who's of any importance and I'm slow on the uptake. So that's like not a good combination at all to have someone. But that is one of the things I just wanted to let people know, man. It's okay to be slow on the game and figure it out. And then once you figure it out, start to make those changes in your life. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. I made KJ take me to the Korean market so we could find food, because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So point
Neither
some
did
stuff
he.
out. Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when I was like, oh God, what? But I felt like I can swing this. I can be your, like, the Springfield cultural, like, Korean adoptee Sherpa, of like, okay, I can like guide you into, here's how to be Korean in Springfield, and like the little pockets of like where
Yes.
to go. So
Yeah. But I think it's good. Like, that's a good start. I'm like, you have to start. I had done Ancestry in Me a long time ago, and it was actually my husband that pushed me to do it. He's like, you should absolutely do it. He goes, what if you've got like a brother or a half brother or something out there that you didn't know about? And so I'm like, that'd be awesome. So I did it, and then I sat on it forever and never did anything with it. And then I got reinvigorated about, a year ago and started to try to do more. And so I got the 23andMe kit. I went after my Korean adoption papers, which was a feat all in itself. And I feel like I should get a gold medal for that. So, but I got those papers, and I've started looking into like the Holt agency and like putting in my case. And I think my adoption papers are totally fake, to be honest with you, as I read them. So, but to start that process and get it going. So that was the first thing I thought of. So I was like, I'll start here. And then I joined some ethnic community groups, and I'm trying to do more in those groups. So
What made you think that the papers were fake? Although there are some that are, but what is specific things about it that are giving you clues or anything?
yeah, so the way the paper looks, like it's super thin. It's just, it doesn't look official. And maybe it's just because I'm like, man, this is like almost 40 years old at this point. So it just doesn't look right. But the documentation on it is very generalized. And it's like anybody could put that, it's like, I didn't know what to put here. So we're going to put the not applicable in this slot right here. Both the parents, my birth parents listed, they're the exact same age. They do the exact same job. Just kind of one of those things that you're like, really? That seems not right at all. So I don't know. But I also was like, when I looked at the age, I was like, oh my gosh, they'd be like 85. I'm not even sure if they would be alive. And if you look at their job, they're a laborer. So you're like, man, I'm not really sure like if that's worth it. But, again, I still submitted everything to Holt, and we'll see what comes back. So who knows? I mean, we've heard of stories where the papers weren't totally genuine, and then they go and find some parents, and you're like, wow, look at that. Pretty awesome. So maybe that's a case. Like, that's my best case scenario. And then my worst case is, there's no information there. So, which is just where I am right now.
Yeah, you never can really trust the papers. I mean, there are informations that's probably made up. There's times when there's information that is just translated incorrectly. Even mine said something that I had siblings, and I think it said I had like 5 siblings or something. But later I find out I had 6 siblings, and I was the youngest, so I know that
later
there wasn't another one.
18 siblings.
Yeah, I mean, do they not count me in that sibling category too? I don't know. So
you got cut out.
Yeah, and so there's all this like information that you just never know what's true and what's false, and so that's good to look it up, like you were saying, to see what you can find, and yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I feel like that's just an endeavor on its own. You can get sucked down that rabbit hole super fast. So
yeah, absolutely. Patrick, did you have a question, or I just like misreading your body language?
Oh, no. I was going to actually ask very similarly to what Nathan just asked.
Oh, okay.
I also have a question or something I'm gonna say at the end, but
At the very
I've
end. So
loaded it
we're
into
going to have to
my
wait
brain.
for that
You're
one.
already prepared
Yeah.
for that. Yeah. He's so ready for this interview to be over.
Not
He's
that
like,
I'm not
last
listening. I just
question.
there was something that you said that I compartmentalized in my brain that I was gonna bring up, but then Nathan asked the question that I was gonna tie the question to. So
To be continued.
PTC.
yeah.
I'm
All
excited.
I heard you
Dot,
say is you're just excited to be done with the interview. So.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. I think this is really great.
I was just gonna say, I appreciate that you make a comment of that you don't think that you were worth coming on the show because your story has very, you're still developing all the information, you're still researching. But what I was gonna say is, I think there's a lot of people who are like that. So definitely doesn't make you less worthy to be on the show. I think that's actually a
Thank
perfect
you.
candidate to be on the
Mhm.
show.
Oh,
Is because there's a
awesome.
lot of people out there who haven't done as much research as you have already done. There's a lot of people who haven't done the 23andMe. There's a lot of people who haven't done, any research on their own family. So the fact that you're doing all this right around, the age of 40, I think is great, because, like you said, it's better late than never. It's
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that's what you want to do and that's what you are into at the moment, then keep at it, because that's what everyone has their own reasons and purpose in self-discovery, and some people will never do it. Some people will do it at 22.
Yeah, and I think that's really the heart of the show is
Mhm.
we just want to celebrate that people are taking the journey, and to be emotional support for the journey, because the journey is long and hard and confusing and kind of never ending. So yeah, I mean, there's no criteria to be on the show, no other criteria for us to celebrate with CADS than the fact that you are stepping into the journey, and we couldn't be more excited for you, even though we know that the road is hard and confusing and long and wonderful. We're here for the ride. So
Mhm.
yeah,
I appreciate
thank you
that.
for adding value to the show.
I do. I appreciate that a lot.
So just quickly to add, that's what I was saving for the end.
Patrick,
Because I was going to say, because the reason I was saving that was because you had said that you had listened to, you're on episode 41.
yeah.
And
yeah.
then,
Yeah.
and then as you're sharing your story, which I do feel like is pretty unique, you said that, you didn't feel like you were worried that you weren't a person that should come on the show. And I was just going to say, having listened to all the episodes, or generally most of the episodes, we've had multiple people come on the show and say that exact same thing.
Yeah.
Say, I didn't feel like my story was worth sharing. And I was just going to
Yeah.
say, after the next 40 minutes, when we got more of your story, just to be like, now that you've shared all of that, I just wanted to say you absolutely are worthy of being on here, just like Kathan, because we've combined
no,
you now.
that's accurate, Kathan. Yeah,
Kathan?
we are one. We are one person in the eyes of the Lord.
Stop saying that. Just because KJ, or I just agreeing with KJ and Nathan, everything
Yeah.
that they said,
Yeah.
absolutely
I'm set.
deserve and are worthy to be here. So Nathan and I are on the same frequency
Yes.
today, I think. So
It's good.
I stole your thunder. I'm sorry. It's usually the
okay.
other way
that's
around.
all right. I got a lot more thunder.
Yeah,
It's like I'm bringing the thunder.
Yeah, I'm bringing
Yeah,
the boom.
yeah, yeah.
So
I never really have any good questions, so they always pull the questions before I do.
All right, so now that we've done the end of the interview, let's jump back into the middle of the
Let's go
interview.
back to the story. Let's get more.
I did
Get
steal
some
your
more
question
info.
one time, so I
Yeah.
totally get it. That's worth it.
So I'm actually really curious about what you had said was that 9/11 was kind of a big flashpoint for you,
Sure.
as it was for a lot of Americans, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was in third grade
Oh,
when 9/11 happened. My sense of that time is just like real warped because I was just too young to really get it. And so for me, a lot of the stories, and as I've learned more about Asian American history, like obviously that's a major flashpoint for South Asian Americans or West Asian Americans. But I'm curious, what was that moment in the time, immediately after 9/11? What was it about that experience that made you kind of wake up to the reality, even if it was just a little bit of like, oh, shoot, I am Asian and that this has implications for me living in America?
yeah. Oh man. So I was a freshman in college, and I'll never forget, I was on like the hall council that you're on. So we were up early that morning to give the janitor that worked in that building. I think that he was like on year 50 or whatever, but he was literally getting ready to retire. It was his century of a decade, whatever time frame. Anyways, It was
century of a decade.
Yep.
whatever,
Yeah.
you know,
110
that's
years.
This man is 500 years
Yes.
old. He is very impressive.
you would think he was. You
Yeah.
would. And we called him, his nickname was Shorty. So like he was
Nice.
super, super short. But anyways, long story short, it was his birthday. So we were celebrating because that was his last year with us and working for the college. So we're up and we're making him breakfast, and the, Good Morning America or the Today Show or whatever was on in the background, because our RA had cable. So we had it running in the background kind of as a thing. And then all of a sudden you see the news happen. And one of the girls who was on hall council with me is Indian. So she immediately, and she's Muslim. And so she immediately grabbed me and kind of took me to the side and was like, "Are you going to go home?" And I just remember being like, "No, why would I? No, man." And she was like, "Well, I'm going to head home because I don't know what's going to happen." And I couldn't quite get my head around why. And then when all of the news started coming in, then what was weird too is we ended up having, some of us had class that day and some of us didn't. Some of our instructors decided to do it and some of them didn't. So I remember going to one of my classes, and this guy was from New York, and he immediately was like, "I'm headed home. Class is canceled for the rest of the week. We need to follow with family and, do all of these things." And I remember him kind of touching my arm as I walked out the door and him saying like, "Are you doing okay?" And again, being just dumbfounded as to why I'm being asked this question, and then being like, "Oh yeah, I'm not like white, like I don't fit in, but I don't know, like it's never been a big deal. My friends have never made it a deal. We've never talked about it. They don't see me as white. Like I know that because we've talked about it with makeup and girl things and joking things. But at the same time, all of a sudden it's hitting me as like, wow, that is different." When it really hit me though, KJ, is when I was on a long road trip with a boyfriend at the time. We were near somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Utah. We were near Moab, but we were way far out in a tiny town climbing in this gorge, in this rock gorge. We went to a McDonald's, and I think I was 25 at the time, and they wouldn't serve me. They wouldn't serve us together. He's totally a white dude. We're standing there, we're waiting to get a meal. And when we stepped up to the register to order the meal, the lady looked right at me and was like, "We don't serve people like you here at all. You guys can leave." So
It's wild.
It was crazy. And I remember walking out and again, just being like dumbfounded, like, what is happening? And I mean, I guess I was just so naive. And like I told you when we first met, my head was just in the ground for a long time. Like I was a strong female in the fact that I'm strong in who I am. And I know what I want. And I know, I'm not going to let anybody walk on me. But at the same time, I just really never considered my race as something that I needed to think about. I was always just like, everything's fine. It's totally normal. And then really recognizing as I got older, and then like I told KJ, working in the field that you work in healthcare, we try to sit there and say, "Hey, there's no diversity. We don't see any color in healthcare, blah, 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 blah." And so half the time when I would go to work and working in a field where it's kind of like the police, fire, EMS mentality, you get used to making fun of yourself before someone can make fun of you, so that you can kind of keep, compartmentalize, also keep yourself a little in check. And it was a funny thing. Like people would joke and they would laugh, and it was a positive encounter too. It's not negative. It didn't feel negative to me. Like then the more I started thinking about it, the more I'm like, man, all of those things after David had asked me, less than a year ago, all of those things are racist things. And I totally was contributing to that problem instead of not contributing to it, you know what I mean? Or not being aware of it. And I think that that's just some things that like, I wish I would have been smarter as I was younger. I wish I would have been more open to thinking about those things, but I just wasn't there in my brain. And I think it does take time for some people, especially if you're not hooked into resources. Like I really look back at my childhood and think, man, had I had more access to things, or had my parents sent me to one of those camps where you work on your heritage and your culture, like knowing the Korean culture, that would have been a completely different experience. And I listened to some of those stories with you guys and I'm like, man, who got that? Like, what stick did you draw to get those parents? I was like, I did not draw that stick. So I got the parents who were great parents, but, you know, they just raised me as their other white kid, and I wasn't white. And like I was telling KJ a few weeks back when I went to get my paperwork, we had that conversation with my folks, and that was a very tough conversation. So, you know, my parents still use derogatory terms that I'm like, dude, he is not Oriental. He is Asian. He is not a rug or a lamp. I was like, that's not cool. Don't be calling him things like that, or whatever reason it is. But it's stuff like that. And they just aren't aware. They're wonderful people. They have great hearts and they're super cool. But it just is one of those things where they're not there. And that's one of my biggest things, is how to get people to perceive things differently. That's what I do with my education style of teaching, is to perceive things differently. So felt like it was about time the rest of my brain caught up with what was going on.
Well, I think it's so hard because, like, I just heard you say, I was raised to be this strong woman who loved herself and was so confident, right? And so, like, in that sense, your parents did such a wonderful job of, like, preparing you for that reality, right? And, like, learning how to fight for yourself. And then you grow up and you get blindsided and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that there's a third fighter in the ring. And so 9/11 happens and you just get smacked in the face repeatedly, really. And then your story about being out in Moab, it's just like, you're like, oh, when you said that, I was like, there's a third fighter in the ring that no one told you about. And that, like, even for as much training as you had been given, you were still so unprepared, because fighting one person versus two people is just such a different ask, So yeah, I hear you. Thanks for sharing that.
And I wanted to say, thanks for sharing. And I really resonated with everything that you said in there, especially when it comes to not being okay with yourself, or like really thinking about it, how it affects you personally in your own ethnicity. So like when I was in college, that was the first time that I started to think about diversity in that sense, but I never thought about it as myself. I never thought of myself as being different, but I was like, oh man, Black people have it really bad in this country. Oh man, Indigenous people have it really bad in this country. And so that was the start of my, like, really wanting to understand cultures, but for whatever reason, I just could not pursue my own Korean heritage or culture. I was wondering if you had kind of a similar experience where you plugged into, like, wanting to help others, or noticing, like, either a lack of diversity or other things in other communities, or was it really just kind of like, I'm just living my life,
No, yeah. So I won't lie. I'm a huge true crime podcast junkie. So if I'm not listening to your guys' podcast, I'm listening to one of those.
Wow, that is rarefied air that we.
I know. I know.
Thank you.
I'm actually mad that you listen to other podcasts. So.
How dare you?
Well, you guys have so many other podcasters on. Like, I have to, like, I love it because I'll be listening. I'll be like, all right, find that podcast. All right, save it, subscribe. And then I'm like, I'll get to that later. And,
in the rabbit hole.
I get that.
Yeah, I'm like, so,
Yes.
but I try to get them. But I'm a huge true crime. And actually, just recently, if you guys watched John Oliver on HBO, God love him.
His video,
Oh, his modeling minority episode. If you haven't watched it, I won't spoil it, but you should. That was unreal to me, to be like, what the hell? Are you for real right now? And I love it because my brother actually watched it before me and then immediately texted it to me and was like, hey, let's talk about this. I want to talk about it. So, which I just think is awesome, because he's been so much more open in the last 9 months with all of the change that I'm going through, where he's been absolutely supportive. So shout out to my brother, Skip. He's been very awesome. But
Shout out, Skip.
Yeah.
Way to go, Skip.
So
you mentioned Daniel, who we both know is a mutual friend of ours. And he has inadvertently or advertently played a pretty big role in our lives, whether he knows it or not, which if he ever listens to this episode, his head is about to be as big as
to this episode.
It's about to be as big as Patrick Armstrong.
I knew you were going to say that. I was like, I leaned in to be like, is he going to say my head?
It was like, oh yeah. Is it?
He did.
But Daniel is such a great dude and such a fantastic connector. But I'm curious, what was that conversation like from your perspective of how he maybe corrected you or just kind of eased you into, because I mean, it is like, it's a new way of thinking when your parents raise you colorblind and then you realize the world is not black and white, it actually does have lots of color, and you are one of those colors and have to find out how you live in that world and not propagate harmful systems. What was that conversation like? And no, I'm just going to stop. What was that conversation
That's
like?
awesome. It was really cool, actually. Just a little backstory real quick. Daniel and I met, like, he was in Springfield, like Leadership Springfield, which is the chamber group that gets together, and then they go around the whole city and like test jobs around the city to see what other people do, basically. They had come into where I worked, and we were doing some healthcare education stuff, just kind of showing them how we teach stuff. And anyways, he and I met. He gave me a card. He and I connected a couple more times at a couple conferences, and he always just sought me out and was like, hey, I want to talk to you about some stuff. And he would always just ask me some questions, and then he would kind of go off and do his thing, and then I'd see him at the next conference. So that's how we met. And then I wanted to get in touch with him just for the fact that I had kind of put him off for 6 months, and I felt bad. So I was trying to connect with him. He had moved jobs, and so I was trying to locate him, and I finally got him for breakfast and was like, hey, let's meet. And so he and I met for breakfast, and we're sitting there, and he was just like, how are you doing? What are things like for you? Talk to me. How do you feel about the thing that happened in Georgia? You know, he just, all of these things were brought up and, you know, brought to attention and questions. And anyways, I had been thinking about it for a while and wanted to bounce these ideas off of him, but just told him kind of what I told you guys, like, I'm just now realizing that I was part of the problem instead of fixing the problem or recognizing that there is a problem. You know, I'm contributing to allowing that racism to happen. And I mean, how do you get out of that? Like, what do you do? Like, because how do you forgive yourself? Like, those are great questions, I think, on just your own level of, you know, life. And I want to be a better person. So he was very instrumental in being like, oh man, you have great mindset and great perception, and these are great questions. And we talked intellectually for a minute about those kind of things. And then he said to me, hey, I have a guy you should totally meet. He's Korean, and I think he's adopted, and they have a podcast. You should check it out. And so he showed me your podcast, and I started listening. And so then I said, can I get his contact information? That's when he introduced us, I think, on Facebook group or something. And then,
yeah, in like the most awkward way possible.
Yes. He was like, you should, like, the text literally says something along the lines of, you should know each other.
Full stop.
That's it. Boom.
Perfect.
And then, of course, I love it because KJ comes back and is like, all right, who is this person? What is happening?
Good talk, Daniel.
Yeah,
thanks,
like,
buddy.
thanks for throwing me under the bus. And anyway, so then I reached out to KJ, and I'm sure he was like, oh, she's this annoying person. So, because I kept nagging him.
I would never think that about you out loud.
So, yeah, see.
What a jerk.
But he was like, I'm nagging because I kept being like, we should do lunch. We should do lunch. We should do lunch. And so finally I made him come to lunch with me. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was not at all like that. It was just like, yeah, sure. I'm very busy, and I will let you know as soon as I'm free.
Nope, that's getting cut out. It was like she asked you a bunch of times and had to wear down your defenses. Because we know it's canon on the show that you don't like other people. That it takes a while.
That's
or
true.
It takes a
As
while.
a general rule,
Yeah.
I do hate all people.
Yeah.
That's
So-
accurate.
I just want to keep our stories straight.
Yep. Nope. I appreciate that you are the continuity defender.
Yeah, I'm the canon
That's real
king.
good.
Wait,
Mhm.
why do I always go for, like, I don't know. That's
For the dictator of the
top rung.
podcast.
For kings
or dictators.
Yeah, I have delusions of grandeur. The delusions. for
Patrick
sure.
is like always kind of on a power trip. However,
Yeah.
he can get there.
Yeah.
Short man
Yeah.
syndrome, even though I'm 6 foot tall.
I was like,
Yeah.
aren't you tall though?
Yeah.
Amazing. I really like that story because I think what's so great is like so much of your coming out of the fog, if you will, journey to self-racialization, understanding yourself as Asian American, right? More than just Korean, ethnically Korean, is like it's happened in community. And I think really this is the reason that we started the podcast and the reason that we have like the after party, which it's not like we talk about anything particularly deep or intellectual or whatever in the after party. Sometimes it's like, hey, where do you guys get chopsticks from? And what kind of chopsticks do you get? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's just, it's just like who else are you going to ask that question to and feel comfortable asking that question to? You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
like
absolutely.
I think that it's so important to have a community of people that you can feel safe in asking questions, or you're like, I hope that or like you're willing to take the risk of maybe feeling dumb, and then having that community be like, no, we've definitely been there. Here, here's here are the steps we've taken, and here are the things that we can learn. But I just, especially for people like you, people like really all of us, Nathan now, not and especially when you were growing up, less so when you were in California. But
I just post test recipes in there. That's all I do. So I just, because if I'm using something incorrectly, I'll feel like I won't get ridiculed. If I put it in the other group that I'm in, which is Korean cooking, it could be horrible. I could get so blasted. So yes.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is just kind of like our proximity to people of color. Like Beth and I are part of essentially a support group that literally is like, hey, we're not the only ones, right? for people in Springfield, and so like having these online communities and having a space where we can have these conversations. And I think somebody like Daniel, who is such a great connector and does really care about people, and also just his experience as a Black man in America, helps someone like us who's like, oh, we need to rethink how we are people of color in America. That having that community really helps us find that language, helps us to begin to develop that language, to begin to talk about those things, is realizing that there is a problem, is realizing that maybe we have played a role in perpetuating the problem, and then learning, all right, so what do we do to stop that and to actively, in fact, work against those things. So, I just love your story for really all of those points of, because like I so resonate with like kind of like life being like, hey, it's time to wake up, and you're like, no, I don't want to, and then like a little bit later something else happens, you're like, no, I don't want to wake up, or like maybe your eyes wake up but you don't get out of bed, and so now it's like, now we are properly awoken, we're properly out of bed, ready to take on the world with our new identities, and there's still so much of the journey, but that it really couldn't happen without a community of people who help us along the way. So I'm curious, what's next for you on your journey as an Asian American, as a Korean adoptee? What's the thing that you're most excited about in your next steps? Man,
that is so hard. And I think that's so tough because this journey is so crazy. Like I've heard, I've heard all of your podcasts. So I've heard all of their journeys, and I've heard other people's journeys, and then your guys' own journeys. And I think it's just crazy because like I was talking to my husband about that. Like, what is the next journey? He's like, you need to go and be part of something. Like go, he was like, and maybe like join a group, create a group. He was like, do something. He's like, you're so loud and you're like,
I know
he
that
just knows me. I do. I'm so loud, but he's like, you give so much.
You're so loud.
I am, and I fully
That's like the sweetest
that.
thing, but also just so funny.
Because he's like, people listen. He was like, you have people who will follow you, so it is what it is. And he was like, you can be influential. And so like I volunteered to do, I'm doing a speaking engagement for one of the young ladies that is in our group. To go and talk about being
That's
Asian.
Awesome.
Yeah. Which I'm just like, so what do I have to do? And she's like, just talk about being Asian. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not really Asian. Just going to put that out there so that we're all truthful. Like I'm Asian, but I'm not like true Asian. So I was like, I'm working on that part.
You're not Asian.
Asian.
You're definitely not Asian.
Yeah. So.
Well, you are Asian enough, and you are on that path. So.
Yeah. So, and I thought it was awesome because she was like, let's just talk about it. And so I told her, I was like, I'm going to talk about the fact that I had to figure out that I was first Asian, like how I got there. Yeah. So, cause that's the hardest issue for me right now. But, so doing something like that, I'm kind of sad because KJ's leaving Springfield. So I can't lean on him anymore for like, help me with food, help me do this, help me do that. So now I'm going to have to figure it out by myself, and my support groups. So, I'm working on food, and then I want to work on the language. That's kind of the next thing. And then I bought the book you guys are reading, so I'm kind of maybe I'll follow along.
Episode
we'll
42.
see.
Be prepared for a real fun one.
Be prepared. I can't hear "be prepared" and not just scream. Be
That's true.
Lion King was really formative to me.
So I wanted to say, I actually want to bring back something we talked about in the middle of the episode, but we said it was the end, and that's the importance of your story and the reason why you make a perfect guest for this show. What you're doing as next steps is incredible. I think speaking is incredible, and I think the reason that you're speaking about, I think you telling the story of how you got to recognize yourself as Asian is incredibly important. I think
Awesome.
I think that is so important because that's a story we don't hear, specifically from adoptees, but also from like second, third, fourth, fifth generation Asian immigrants who grew up here in similar circumstances as us and who have had to find their way back to their culture. But I mean, particularly from an adoptee perspective, we don't have culture to find our way back to almost in our own homes. And so I think that's what makes it so, so important. And to just tie that together, like that's the reason you're a perfect guest for this show, because, and that's the reason what you're doing right now is so incredibly important, not only for your own journey, but for everyone that comes after you, because we need to hear these stories. We need to hear how you got from there to here. And we need to hear how you're going from here to wherever it is in the future. And so just wanted to affirm you in that and say thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared. It's been a really incredible conversation so far.
Thank your husband too, because he was being supportive. He knows that you have a story and that you have a voice, and he's pushing you to, he said, go talk, go be a part of something. He didn't say, maybe you should go listen to a few more podcasts. So,
he didn't say quiet down.
Yeah,
he said be loud.
He said be loud. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well, and
great.
I think that's so important because like he is encouraging you to be who you are, right?
Yeah.
And that's such an important thing for your own story. Like we've heard is like, who you are. You're not shy about who you are. He's like, here I am, world, take me or leave me, but like, I'm coming for you, And so like to have a husband who has your back like that, is so vital really for the work that we're trying to do. And I think especially about obviously like in the place that we are here in the middle of America, like most of the Asians that I've had the opportunity to interact with in Springfield and beyond are like either first gens and immigrants or they're adoptees. And there's not like, we don't really have the privilege of like a community that's been around for a couple of decades or a couple of centuries. We don't have the privilege of second, third, fourth, fifth, seventh generation Asian Americans. We have really people are coming to them. And I'm always amazed anytime an immigrant like gets further inward than like the outskirts of America. I'm like, how did you end up in the Midwest? But that we do have a lot of adoptees in our community, and like, part of like, I wonder how different the four of our stories would have been if we had heard more adult adoptees speaking about their experiences,
right,
being Asian American, coming to terms with that, how different our parents would have chosen to raise us, just based on kind of you know what I mean? Like, because like, I don't know that any of us really hold like any ill will against our parents in any, significant way. It's just like, it is just a new way. Like we're older and we're wiser and the world has progressed a little bit. And so looking back, we're like, oh, I wish that things were just a little bit different, and that we didn't have to reckon with these things. But I think it's so powerful because I know that there are so many Asian adoptees in the Midwest, specifically in our community. And so for you to be on a stage as a woman, as an Asian, and as an Asian adoptee, and to be able to speak to that process, I think is so powerful. And to know that like, that's not a journey for all adoptees to take. Like I am significantly less loud than Patrick. And I'm so grateful for Patrick being as loud as he is, because then I can say, go talk to this guy or go listen to this guy, go follow this guy. You don't have to be loud. Like he is working to promote, all of those things. So like for me, I just get to hang out and support him and give him the biggest head that he needs to feel like he can go for whatever,
He's loud enough for all of
he
us.
floats away. Like, he floats away. And leaves us alone.
It's like, I will fuel your ego to get to the moon. And if I feel like you're going too far, then I will take you right back down. So.
Pop that head.
Yep. So, Beth, thank you so much for coming onto the show and for sharing your story.
Sure.
It has been such a wonderful time. If people want to follow you, hang out with you, whatever online, where can people find you?
So they can't really find me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Forget it. Just
What
listen
happened to
to
this
this
being
podcast
loud
about it.
stuff? Come on, let's get some, let's get
So
some
I'm
social
super
media.
loud. I just, social media is, I took some leadership classes and it scared me. Like social media is like, I don't know. So, but you can find me on Instagram. It's Beth Perk 331. And then you might be able to find me on Facebook if you search me, but probably not. So
Nice.
Don't
Awesome.
search for her on Facebook.
Well,
yeah, he's like, I'm already looking now. So
just find
couldn't
the
find her.
group that she started or the group that she's a part of, and just it's like a meet cute or like a chance encounter on the internet. Where,
exactly.
I don't know. Maybe maybe it's like, is this? Are you the Beth Perkins? Like,
yes,
no,
I'll be
one.
like, I
are
am
you the Beth Perkins? No, not
Perkins.
this one. Perfect. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be jumping into our second revisited item, or another revisited item. We've had it before. We're having a different version this time of a Korean snack with some controversy around it. So we're going to take a break, and when we get back, we'll jump into that
That
snack.
sounds dangerous. Yeah. Ooh.
Wake me up inside. But when you guys were saying the wake up, that's all I could think of, and I was trying to find a way to fit it in, and that'll be the transition.
All right, great.
It won't be the transition. I already know it. So.
Okay, great. Okay, we are back. Welcome back to the Janchi Show. We are in our food segment. Today, we are revisiting the contentious, I don't have another word for contentious. I thought that I did, but the controversial snack, PEPERO.
Why is it controversial?
Maybe because of the whole PEPERO, Pocky, Pokey, whatever. I don't even remember what the Japanese version is called. At me.
That's right. That's
anyways,
right.
Is that the other brand?
Yeah, that's the Japanese one, Pocky.
Here we go.
So there's a whole controversy. If you want to, you can go back and listen to the episode where we talk about it. We're not going to revisit it here because we've got 2 new flavors.
You will have to wait till 11/11, which is
I forgot about
PEPERO
that.
Day. Come on, you don't remember that?
Okay, no, I forget basically everything that we talk about, which is why I'm so grateful that we're always recording.
And
so Nathan, as the self-proclaimed sucker for new items, what are our new flavors that we're trying?
So I love crunchy things because I like texture. So when I saw at the store that they had a crunchy PEPERO, I got that one, which don't know what it is. It's crunchy, but then down below it says CRUNKY.
CRUNKY. I just been noticing that.
Did you just see that?
CRUNKY all over it.
So I had to buy it because it wasn't just crunchy; it was CRUNKY.
Oh my gosh!
Does this have alcohol and THC in it?
I don't know.
That's how you
I
get
don't know
drunk.
if that's a misspelling because
Constantly getting turned.
it says that in 3 places: CRUNKY, 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 but then in the middle it says crunchy.
Gosh!
It really is
But I love
so
it.
huge
Funny.
crunchy, but just
I
right
know.
below it.
I love that.
CRUNKY. That's
And
really funny.
I love CRUNKY, so I thought this would be a good one. The other one I got was is the
PEPERO. It'll
He's turned
crunk you
away
up.
Turns away from the microphone, digging furiously through a box, digging.
I don't have the other
Digging.
one.
Oh, he's back. He does
I don't
not
have the other
find
one
it.
with me.
He doesn't.
Sorry,
have
the other one
Okay,
is-
well,
You can say it's the nude one, right?
maybe.
I don't think
I
you
think
sent
so.
me a second one.
Oh, okay, maybe
No,
not.
so Beth and I went shopping because we were like, we're
yeah,
going
that
on the show and we live in the same spot. Let me show you our Korean market. So Beth, what is the flavor that we share?
The Choco filled.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
it looks like a nude one.
It does.
I guess.
Looks
So
naked.
it only has stuff on the inside.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I've had some of those before. I've tried.
These
some
are
of those
my
before.
favorite.
Ooh,
Okay. Have you already had them?
No, not at all.
She says, putting down the open box. No.
No.
I definitely
Pretty
waited for the show.
sure for
Yeah,
the listeners, your
for
box
sure.
is open. So
Mine is as well.
that's
I was
okay.
gonna,
So
I was gonna
Amazing.
eat them, and then I didn't open the package.
I won't lie. And I ate, to add to the controversy, I have at least 4 other flavors of Pocky in my house. And really only
Wow.
and
well,
really
your
only
wife is
2
like half Japanese.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
So
and see, that's my
fine.
defense is my
Yeah.
wife is Japanese. So
That's allowable.
It's also easier to
it's-
find, I think.
It is
in my
easier to
markets.
find.
It's easy. There's Pocky. There's not really.
Well, then we have
really
to
PEPERO.
clamor for PEPERO so that all the suppliers are like, oh, people
Yeah,
really want
let's get that
PEPERO
marketing
in America.
up.
We got to get
That's
that.
true.
That
That's
supply
true.
out, you know?
Listeners,
Demand it, America.
Go to janchishow.com/PEPERO petition and please sign our petition to get PEPERO in multiple stores across America.
I'm
Thank
not
you.
going to make that a real page.
I already made it.
I'm just
I just made it right now.
I'm
like,
just
I
telling
just
you,
did it.
I am
Yeah.
not gonna.
I just made it.
Petition.
I love that both of your computers sound like dot matrix printers. I just
Of course it does.
got onto the internet. Nice.
Just
No, that's like
dialing
a dial-up. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Do you is there a chance that some of our listeners have never had a Pocky or PEPERO?
Oh,
I bet.
Whoa, yes. Tweet at us or
Yeah.
social media at us and let us know if you've ever had
Instagram us because I
Pocky.
don't think
I'm
anyone
curious.
checks Twitter.
I mean, I know.
Check our Twitter.
Oh,
Yeah,
never mind.
as you said, Pocky is easier to find, but the chances are there's still probably some people out there who've never had either
That's a good point.
Pocky or PEPERO. So
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I will explain to the listeners what it is. It is a biscuit stick, looks like a long pretzel, and then this one is chocolate coated. There you go. This one also has.
Wait,
the crunchy
sorry, which
stuff
one is
on it.
this one?
So this is the PEPERO CRUNKY.
Okay. Okay, so here's the deal. Now that I've opened the box and gotten into the packaging, the Hangul beneath it says CRUNKY.
Yeah, on the back it even
So-
has crunky in all the languages. Not crunchy.
Does it really in all the languages?
So
Yeah.
there's a
PEPERO
question:
CRUNKY.
is there a Korean word for crunchy?
I mean, I'm sure there is, but I wonder if this isn't like bad, like quote unquote bad Konglish. Like, you know how like, so the older version of saying like fighting in Korean is fighting with a
Yeah.
HW. But now like younger Koreans, the more modern way of saying it is piting with a P because they have a better understanding of English. So I wonder if CRUNKY isn't the way that like it's old Konglish, you know, and like so now the new Konglish, the newer wave of Koreans would be like, yeah, it's crunchy, obviously, but that's my
Nathan,
Thick
just go into
guess.
H Mart and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for some crunky stuff."
I like some
You guys have any
crunky
crunky
stuff.
items?
Where's your crunky aisle?
If they look at you like you have, like they have no idea what you're talking about, not the right.
All right. Well, I am opening my crunky because I want some.
Oh,
of
I
this.
already opened mine. I'm
I
sorry.
will
Okay.
say right off the bat, different packaging for the crunky PEPERO.
it's not as seductive.
Not as
You're
sleek and
right.
shiny.
The original, yeah.
With the other packaging.
Yep. It's
These are
crunky.
delicious.
Okay.
So the crunchy part of it is like a
is
Rice
this?
Krispie
You got Shorty.
crunch bar. It's like a Nestle's Crunch Bar.
Oh yeah.
That's the crunky part.
Uh-huh.
That's all you got? That tiny
There's just this
that,
one
like,
tiny stick. No, I'm just kidding.
in the bag.
Nope, just another one.
Just that.
Another
a
happy.
bag.
So the Pocky crunchy one that I recently had also, that was crunchy because it had almonds in it. This
Ooh,
is
that sounds
crunchy,
good.
yeah, because it has like those Rice Krispie treat
Mhm.
things in it. So
Oh,
it's a
I
different
found the
type
other
of crunchy.
crunk.
I'm partial to the Rice Krispie Crunch. I think it's
I am
really
too.
good. The Nestle Crunch Bar is like a perfect comparison.
Yeah.
It's that on a small stick.
And I don't think Pocky has one that has Crunch Bar on it. I think the only one is nuts, but I could be wrong. So someone can you can fact check me that one.
This is the nude flavored one. It's a better package with the
Ooh, better
repeated logo
package.
everywhere.
I like that
It's
one.
better, but it's still not as like seductive as the original.
Couldn't tell. It looks
red.
shiny. It looks shiny.
It is a little shiny. Shiny. But it's not like
shining.
So all right, digging into it.
Mm.
Nope, I broke it.
These are my favorite.
The nude one.
So
the one
I do have one of those nude ones
Yeah.
upstairs, but it's strawberry filled.
Ooh,
interesting.
those
I
are
like the
good too.
strawberry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have like 3 or 4 varieties of these here at the house. We definitely like our Pocky PEPERO sticks.
Us, like my kid loves them, so we always
Pit your
put 'em-
children against each other.
I know we should.
Mm.
She always gets one in her lunchbox headed to
Oh,
school.
nice.
So yeah, with the little package.
These are these are things that kids want. Like other kids would
Yeah,
love these.
they're sweet.
Yeah. The other day, or probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had one of my buddies was staying with us, and we were sitting there watching TV. I was like, "Hey, dude, you got to try these Korean snack." He's like, "All right, yeah, maybe in a little bit." And about 10 minutes later, I'd eaten all of them. So he could.
Wow.
You
That's how
snooze, you
good they are.
Be a
lose.
cultural representative.
Good job. Way to share the
Well,
love.
be hungrier faster. I offered you one.
Yeah, it's his fault.
If he's
Be
his
hungrier
friend, he
faster.
should know that he eats
Yeah,
fast.
exactly.
So he should like get in on that.
And listeners of the show know historically I eat all the food very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. So
Man, Patrick, you have no jung.
They don't have any junk.
Jung.
Jung.
Jung. Jung.
Jung 없어.
Spoiler alert for the next episode or one of the previous episodes. I don't know which one.
one of the many previous episodes.
Spoiler alert for an episode that either might come out or has already come
Yeah,
out.
I know. I'm just
We
going to throw
don't-
that
we're
one
not
out
sure.
there.
It's out
We
already.
already talked about that.
That's excellent use of Korean.
Thank you. We use this as a bribery in our house too. If the kids
Yeah.
sometimes
Smart.
do a good thing or a bad thing, you know,
Nice.
like, oh, you're not gonna get some Pocky
Mhm.
or pepper. So
Do you bribe them with one stick or
Only
one
one.
box? Smart.
no,
Even smarter.
one stick, and then I eat the rest of the package. So yeah,
Okay. I like that.
Nice. So you have to buy so many packages because they only get one stick, but you get
yeah.
the whole package.
As far as they know, only the packages only come with one.
it only comes with one
You are
stick.
That's
rude,
hilarious.
sir.
You're that
rude.
parent.
Parenting.
So you guys will laugh since we're talking about parenting. I'm gonna tell you guys a funny story. My friend's mom told her that when the ice cream truck came around, if it was playing music, that means it was out of ice cream. She believed that until she went to college, and then
Dirty.
yeah.
Oh,
so I
no.
forget, we were at someone's house and we're like, let's all go out and get an ice cream, you know, blah 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 blah. You can hear the little man going around the
In
neighborhood.
college.
And she literally was like, that means it's out of ice cream. And we
Oh
were
my
like, no,
gosh.
that means he's coming.
What was her
Sell
face?
it to
What was
us.
her face
Wow.
when you were all
Her
like,
face
let's go?
was just like, what? Like, my mom has
Yikes.
been lying to me all this.
This
You're like,
literally
you
watched
think we'd
someone's
have
childhood
destroyed her. Yeah.
implode.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, are you going to be okay? Like, should you sit down? I don't
Yeah.
know if you need any ice cream right now. So,
My wife's mom told my wife that she was allergic to chocolate, so she never had chocolate for most of her childhood.
Was it
Man,
till
these are some
college?
savage parenting
Yeah, I know.
stories.
that's some rough.
Until later when she had some and she's like, I had no problem
I'm gonna
with it. I was
die.
fine. and so she doesn't. She's not a very big chocolate fan.
My parents
so-
would give us money if we were quiet for an extended period of time. Like, if you could just shut up for about 2 hours, here's $1. Okay.
Nice.
I don't
Oh,
know
man.
how often
I would have
achieved
abused
but-
that one. I would have totally
Okay,
abused
now
that.
that we're done blasting our parents,
Love you, Mom. and
let's
Dad.
talk. So I'm trying. I just tried the CRUNKY compared to the nude chocolate filled ones. I feel it's hard to say. I mean, I really like the filled ones, like because the chocolate is like really solid and it feels substantial. And I was like, I think I get more. But then they eat the CRUNKY one, and you're like, oh no, I definitely get more with this. But I don't know. It's hard for me to compare the two of them. Beth, is there, for the person who's never had the nude PEPERO, how would you describe it? What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, it's like a perfect cookie. It's crunchy. It's got that chocolate like little layer, like one of those like Keebler Elf like fudge cookies, but it's not the whole thing. It's just like a like the best part of the Keebler Elf cookie,
Nice.
where it's like the thin.
Thank you for
and
adding
the
cookie at the end of that. I was like, wait, I'm eating a Keebler Elf?
Keebler
Best part about the
Elf
elf themselves.
slash cookie.
The best
know you eat
part of
those elves.
Keebler elves.
God, now we're a Folgers commercial too.
Oh, Sarah hates when I like mix like jingles with brands. She cannot stand it.
What? That's the best part.
That would drive me
No,
crazy
I'll
too.
say
Sorry.
mattress firm where it's easy to be a kid.
Oh no!
And they're like, what? And it makes her so angry. Anyways,
I'm sorry,
let's
Sarah.
jump into ratings. Nathan, what would you give the CRUNKY rating?
5
5.
crunkies. No
5
question about it.
crunkies.
5 crunkies. This was probably one of my favorite pepperos. I think I already ate like 5 of them.
All right.
I'll make sure to leave one for my kids. Yep, here's the one in the package. So,
Do they
yeah,
have to
I
like
give it-
fight over who gets it?
So technically, sometimes I have 2.
Hi,
in
team.
there, you're
Okay,
right.
I was like,
do,
do you
'cause
have
I
to
have
like
3
make them
kids.
fight for each stick?
Yes, they have a pepero fight, and they actually
like
it's
how
like a
you're
sword
holding-
fight, and they
Dangling it in front of them.
Like
That's
a
funny.
carrot.
Whoever wins gets this pepero.
This pepero.
right.
But no, yeah, they will. I'm sure get some of this. Usually, I don't give them the other ones because the crunchy one had the almonds. I don't know. They don't like almonds for sure.
Gotcha.
But yes, 5, and I've had the nude ones, the other ones, so I give those a 5 as well, just
Okay.
blindly, since even though I'm not
But-
eating it right now.
But which one would you say is better?
I would say this crunchy CRUNKY PEPERO stick is, like I said, I think it's my favorite PEPERO that I've had. So
All right.
out of all of them.
There you go. Patrick.
I will also give it 5 Lil Johns because he's the one who gets crunk, the king of the crunk. But
I had to think of that. I had to think of that reference.
Okay.
Okay.
What?
I unlike Nathan, I've eaten all of mine. And you know, when I eat them all, that's what
Probably
that
in one
means it's
bite.
good. One bite. You saw me pull them out
No,
individually
they're
and
like-
hold them up and then stick them in my mouth. Yeah, some of them were real tiny. I had little tiny boys, and I wanted some bigger boys. So that would be my only thing, is that you need to make a package that doesn't allow stuff to get broken inside of it. Looking at you, Coq d'Ace, whoever makes that, Whiteheim?
Yeah.
Anyways, this is not your product placement.
Crown?
Okay.
But yeah, I'll give it a 5. Also, we'll give the nudes a 5. Those are really good. I think my favorite, though, is actually the original.
Really?
I think the original PEPERO with just the smooth coating with a little bit of stick. I think that's my favorite.
So
All
good.
right. Beth?
I would give him a 5 too, and I like the nude one the best. So
You have a second one, though, don't you?
So I have the Pocky ones. I had the cookies and cream, and then the chocolate one. But I have the strawberry filled ones too, like Nathan. So I won't lie, like we keep those on hand all the time. So
Smart.
I mean, you never know when you need to, bribe a child.
yes,
You never
have
know
to
when you
bribe
need
them.
to PEPERO.
You have to.
so.
You
Yes.
have to bribe the children
Yeah.
with chocolates.
Okay. I'm going to give the Crunky PEPERO 5 out of 5. I like that it's like kind of salty. It's got like kind of a savoriness to the sweet that is really important to me, and I love the Rice Krispie crunch, as opposed to like an almond crunch. So I think it's really good. The nude ones, I'm going to give I was almost going to give it a 4, but
They're
I think
so good.
it's a 4.5 out of 5.
Okay.
And I think it only suffers from being eaten alongside the Crunky ones, which means Crunky is the winner for me. But it's really good. Like the nude ones are dense, is the thing that I like about it. Like it's a dense bit of chocolate inside of the nude thing. But yeah, so I think that those are really good, and that is all for ratings. 5 out of 5, 4.5
Yeah!
for me. So.
Ooh, a piece of chocolate I found.
Lotte got the candy, make your booty go.
Yes.
All right. I'll cut that out. It's fine.
No, that should totally stay in.
It's not that funny. I didn't even laugh that much when I said it. So,
Well, we
Well,
laughed.
now it needs to.
That's not-
Yeah, I was
that's not
like,
gonna
now
make
it
the
needs
edit.
to.
Beth, one more time for the listeners at home. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Instagram at BethPerk331. And then if I want to find you on Facebook, you can send me a friend request.
Nice.
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 That sounds like
Awesome.
KJ.
That does. Wherever I want to be found.
If I want to be
Well,
found.
I mean, yeah,
Wherever
if they
I
do
wanna
the
be
work and find
found.
me. If they do the work and find me, then I will consider adding them back.
I'll
Or,
consider it. No
whatever.
guarantees, though.
There's like a
I-
Hunger Games
I'm
thing
not gonna
happening.
lie. I'm pretty savage when it comes to unfollowing or unfriending even. So I'm just like every 6 months to a year, I'm like just go through and be like, nah, and just bye y'all. So
I'm ready to reach the point
Yep.
of just leaving completely and not being a part of it. That would be great.
all right, so there you have it. But in the meantime,
But if they want to find you, Patrick.
in the meantime,
I was like, you're checked into a lot of stuff, though.
I
weird.
know.
yeah, he's
it's so
kind
terrible.
of quote unquote big.
Well,
in
he
the
is
quote,
Patrick
unquote
in the world.
community.
That's right.
You can't
I
really
am.
have that name and then not be found.
I
in
am
the
Patrick
world.
in the world.
You should be like
Um,
Patrick in the universe.
Ooh.
Ooh, I do like that. I'm
Mm.
yeah, I like space and sci-fi and comics. That is
I like
right up my alley.
space.
In
So
sci-
that's why
I like
he's
space
Like, I
and
like
sci-fi
space. Just
too.
leave me
Yeah.
alone.
Mhm.
I'll keep you all at
I
an
like
arm's
Star
distance.
Wars and stuff.
Well, Beth, you broke the show, but
I'm sorry,
if you
I
wanna,
broke it.
That's okay.
If you want to send us messages to try to fix the damage, you can find us at Janchi Show on all of the platforms. We're talking Instagram, we're talking Facebook, we're talking Twitter, we're talking TikTok. No, we're not on TikTok yet. Friends, but maybe one day. You can reach out to us at janchishow@justlikemedia.com. You can go to janchishow.com/support to find out all the ways to be a good fan and a supporter of the show. I'm just saying there are
Be a
there are
good
degrees
fan
of
and
fandom.
support
We have some new
Yeah.
T-shirts too.
So,
check it out.
we do. That's pretty exciting. So,
Yeah.
You can pick up some swag
You guys
there.
need to do like car stickers. Little
We have
car
stickers. I don't know if we have like
Oh.
car
We
stickers.
stick 'em
but
on
we
the-
have stickers. I mean, you can stick it on a car.
I'll have to buy some.
I think that is all of the things. Oh, you can find me at KJ Relke wherever I want to be found on the internet. You can find Nathan at
You can find me chewing some more PEPERO. Sorry. You can find me at No Walk Photo on Instagram or on Facebook or my website. Any of those places. I'm around.
Nice.
Not around the world, but I'm around.
And you can find me at Patrick Watches Battlestar Galactica, a new account I just created where I will be rewatching one episode of Battlestar Galactica every day for the
It's
next
.tv.
lots of time. There is a TV show
Yep.
of Battlestar Galactica.
No, I'm saying .tv. Patrick
Oh,
watches
no.
Battlestar Galactica .tv live on Twitch.
That's the whole username.
No, the
Patrick
it's
watches Battlestar
.tv.
Galactica .tv.
Do you not know how
Oh.
Twitch works?
I don't know how things work. I don't know how things work.
All right, it's fine. Whatever.
That's
Whatever.
it. You guys know where to find me. Also go to my website. Also go to my Instagram, Bookstagram handle. I won't say what it is
My
because I said it before.
Bookstagram?
And
Did you say
that's what it
Bookstagram?
is. Yeah, that's what it is. It's called Bookstagram.
Yeah.
It's like a whole community. I don't know, but
I
I'm a
didn't
part
know
of
that.
it now.
No.
Hey,
I'm learning something new every day.
That is me. Oh, well, I
All
guess
right,
that's the rest of the
so-
show.
Yeah.
I didn't know you wanted me to close
And
it.
done.
I guess we should. The last
And
person who
cut.
says stuff, we should close the show from that point.
Yeah, so Beth, thank you again for hanging out with us.
Thank
and
you
for
so
putting
much.
up with this
Yes.
ridiculous podcast.
This was
I don't
awesome.
know.
No, this was, you guys are super fun. Thanks so much for having me.
So until next week, we will see you later. Janchi, hey yo. Bye.
Wake me up inside.
Wait, that's what
Wake
you
me
tried
up
to end
in-
with?
Hey.
Save me from myself.
I forgot.
All
the
right,
words were.
great.
Perfect.